Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to /IDontWorkHereLady, where Karens continue to mistake anyone as an employee. And in today's episode, a woman harasses and attacks OP, and it's the worst mistake of her life. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. Hit subscribe if you haven't, and as always, you can send or link stories to this email right here. We're diving in. So this happened a couple of weeks ago. I made a quick run to a party supply / craft store for a cake project I was working on. The place closes at 8 o'clock. I get there at 7:45, found my item within 10 minutes, paid, and went back out to my car. So I'm sitting in my parking space still at 7:57, just reading the packaging of my purchase to double check something, when this other car pulls up beside me. I then see this woman, in her late 50s, get out, and I can see her walking to the store entrance from my rear view, and the automatic doors don't open for her. I go back to reading my package, and then look up when I hear the woman's voice near my closed window. She's saying something closed. Politely, I crack my window down like a centimeter to actually hear her. The woman was ranting that they were closed, and I was like, oh yeah, they close at 8 now, I guess. She then cuts me off and says, it's not 8 o'clock yet. You are not supposed to be closed yet. It's 7:58. I try to tell her, hey lady, I don't work, until she cuts me off again and says, I don't care if it's 2 minutes or 2 seconds to 8 o'clock. It's illegal to close early. The woman's kind of close to my car, so I don't want to just pull out and tap her with the car door or the mirror and have her sue me or something, which is why I didn't leave yet. I then firmly say, I do not work there. The woman then gestures to the empty parking lot and she says, I don't see any other cars here, insinuating that I must be lying about being an employee. Now, I'm pretty sure the employee parking lot at that place is behind the building. At this point, I just roll up my window, but not before saying to her, I'm a customer, you effing banana. And to be clear, there couldn't be any real reason for the lady to assume I work there. It's mainly run by teenagers, and I'm in my late 30s. And I also wasn't wearing any work-like attire or name tag. I was in loungy crap. Employees wear bright, solid color shirts, not sweatpants. Oh my goodness, guys, having OP call Karen an effing banana totally made my day. It's one of the more unique insults that I've read. And also, I'm pretty sure it's not illegal to close a private business 2 minutes early, Karen. Like, it may be inconvenient for you. And you know what? If she did get inside, she'd probably spend a minimum of 20 minutes browsing, right? Just annoying everyone who wants to go home. So about 14 years ago, when Reliance Security provided security for Tesco stores, I also worked for Reliance, but I was based at the airport. So one morning, after a 12-hour night shift, I decide to go to a Tesco store that I pass on the way home to get a sandwich. I had my work uniform on, but I was wearing a gray jacket on top so people would know that I'm not on duty. So I go inside the store, pick up a basket, and head to the sandwich counter. And I'm browsing the selection when all of a sudden I hear someone say, "Excuse me?" Now, not expecting anyone to be talking to me, I just carry on looking for my sandwich. Then all of a sudden, the basket is slapped out of my hand. And there's a snarling man's face, less than an inch from mine, and he says, "Hey, I'm not paying you to shop. Get to the front of the store right now." Now, I'm tired and very confused, and I can only muster, "What?" He then repeats himself and says, "I told you to get to the front doors. We've been open for customers for 30 minutes, and you haven't been at your position once. And now I find you buying snacks?" At this point, that's when the penny dropped, and I simply replied that I know the store is open to customers because I am one. And I work for the same company who provides security, but I'm not your guard. With those words ringing in his ears, all the color in his face drained away, and he realized what he'd just done to a customer. Suddenly, the guy becomes very apologetic, and he said if there's anything he could do for me, he would gladly help. That's when I told him that I would like help carrying my basket around the store, as I was tired from a long night shift. And that's when he replied he would get someone to help me immediately. And that's when I told him I didn't want someone else to carry my basket. I want him to carry it. So originally, I only intended on buying a sandwich, but to teach the guy a lesson, I spent 30 minutes in the store and I went down every aisle. Yeah, if I were in OP's shoes, forget making him carry the basket around the store to teach him a lesson. I'd be asking to speak to his boss for what he did. Because screaming at someone to get to work is one thing, but getting aggressive and slapping a basket out of someone's hands? Like, you really gotta wonder, if he did this to OP thinking OP was an employee, what the heck is this crazy manager doing to his actual employees? Okay, so I'm legally blind, and I have been for pretty much forever. We found out about my eye condition when I was 11 years old. And from that point on, I had extra classes and programs teaching me how to live life with really poor or no vision. In my senior year of high school, I had one last sort of blind life boot camp. It was pretty simple, with most of the classes being on stuff like cooking, laundry, cleaning, and some other stuff. It was mostly geared to helping newly blind people adapt, so I would finish early a lot and wind up going to the grocery store to pick up dinner. At this time, I traveled with my service dog Mikey, a big black lab. He wore a special harness, and it was pretty clear to anyone with half a brain that he wasn't a normal pet. Now, usually classes didn't have any sort of dress code. One day though, it was self-advocacy day, and we were supposed to do mock job interviews. So I and the other students were wearing more professional looking stuff. I was in a blue button shirt and khakis. So I finish early and go to the grocery store to get dinner as usual. I was putting a bag of frozen chicken patties into my basket when I hear a voice behind me. The voice was saying, "It's about time they made you guys dress more professional." Now, with what vision I had at the time, I see this person in front of me. The woman was a bit taller than me, a little heavy, and she had gray hair that came down to her neck, in a style that reminds me of Little Lad from those berries and cream Skittles commercials. I then turn around and ask, I'm sorry? To which the woman said, "I said I'm glad that they started making you wear more decent clothing here. Most of the time, you all look like you get dressed in the dark." To which I respond, "I kind of do." The lady says, "Why the heck would you do that?" I tell her I don't really have a choice. Matching colors isn't my strong suit. By this point, I thought the glasses and the seeing eye dog were enough of a clue, so I start to walk away. Now, it hadn't occurred to me yet that she thought I worked there. The Karen says, "Hey, what does that mean? And don't you walk away from me, I'm not done with you yet." I asked her, "Excuse me?" And she said, "I said, get back here, I'm talking to you." She then proceeds to grab me by the wrist that's holding my groceries. I then drop my basket, jerk my arm away, and I could feel Mikey jump because I was tense and because of the sound of the basket hitting the floor. I can hear the woman shout, "Ow, you piece of crap, I'll have you fired." And that's when I realized that she thought I worked there. Not the rudeness, not the assault, but the threats to take a job that I didn't have. So I start to shout back, "Get the F away from me. I don't work here. Don't touch me again. Don't come near me or I will call the effing cops." Now, when I said that, it was loud enough that everyone in the store probably heard. All the chatter from the other customers and the employees died down pretty quick. The lady, carried by the momentum of her power trip, continues ranting and threatening me and following me as I was walking away, but she keeps her distance. At the same time, my dog is pulling as hard as he can to get me away from what he thinks is danger. I even left my basket of food behind. At some point, the crazy lady stops following me, and I left the store without buying anything. I didn't go back to that store again, and I don't know who she was or why she felt entitled to harass me, but I hope she choked on whatever she bought there next. Yeah, in my opinion, OP should have stayed and found a manager so the Karen could have faced the law that day. Because she clearly assaulted and harassed a blind person, guys. And this person says, "Stories like this one make me want to hang around in stores waiting for these trolls to appear from the shadows, so I can tell them off properly and defend their victims. I may or may not wear a cape, still undecided." So OP does have another story where they encounter another Karen, and here it is. I've only been at my new place for a few months, but I live a short distance from a grocery store. Since I can't drive, it's nice to be able to get to the grocery store and get fresh produce without even having to cross the street. That's even nicer, since I'm legally blind. I also used to travel with a service dog named Mikey, but he retired due to old age, so now I'm back to working with a white cane. Now, there's a lot of different white canes out there for blind people. Some of them fold up like a tent pole, others are spring-loaded, and others are just a long piece of plastic with a simple handle. Ultimately, the job of the cane is to keep me from running into something along the path, which could include traffic cones, storm drains, mailboxes, parked cars, and other stuff you could encounter and accidentally walk into if you can't see well like me. I'm on the way home from the grocery store, carrying a large bag of groceries in one hand and my cane in the other. As I'm walking, I'm tapping my cane on the ground, in the approximate spot that my foot will be landing in the next step. All of a sudden, I hear someone yelling from across the street. The woman is screaming, "Hey, what are you doing?" Now, figuring that no sane person would question the motives of a blind guy, I just kept going. I then hear footsteps, and the person who shouted gets in front of me, and I almost run into them. Once again, they ask in an accusatory manner what the heck I'm doing. I tell her I'm just going home. To which she says, "Are you spraying something?" I tell her, no, I'm not spraying anything, I'm just going home. She then screamed at me saying, then what's that thing for? This? I ask, holding up my cane. This is a cane. She then asked if I'm with the groundskeeping crew, and I say, no lady, I'm not with the groundskeeping crew. To which she says, then why are you here? I tell her, for the third time, lady, I'm just walking home. At this point, I just walk past her and go home, while she's screaming at me that she's gonna report me for spraying dangerous chemicals. I make sure to lock my door in case she tries to follow me. Once again, I'm left wondering how sighted people can be so blind to the world around them. Yeah, I don't even know what to say to this, guys. Like, are some people that ignorant and dumb? Are you spraying dangerous chemicals? What's that thing you're holding? Ma'am, I'm blind. That's a cane. I don't believe that's a cane. I believe you're spraying dangerous chemicals. Yeah, some people just need to mind their own business, guys. But you all know Karens can't. So, for some context, I live in the Philippines. I'm 15 years old and speak English, so in my area, with all the local tourists, I often get mistaken for a foreigner, and also get mistaken as an employee in the store to tourists, as I can conversate with them. So this story happened a few weeks back. On this day, my mom and I were picking up stuff in the supermarkets in the mall. I'm wearing basketball shoes, pants, a t-shirt, and a black jacket, so nothing like an employee. I'm also wearing headphones listening to music while shopping. Now, the supermarket where I am is quite popular for tourists, and we're in a small town, so most of us do know each other. As I'm picking out stuff from the shelf, I feel a tap on my shoulder, and thinking it's my mom, I turn around and I'm face to face with a woman. Little did I know, she'd be a Karen. The woman's just standing there looking really impatient. She's wearing jogging shoes, jogging pants, a sweater, and a hat facing backwards. Now, the following conversation goes something like this. Karen says, hey, do you know where the coffee is? I tell her, yeah, it's about 2 aisles down that way, pointing. The woman says, no it isn't, I looked there, there's no coffee. I then say to her, oh, well, in that case, I don't know, maybe find an employee to check? And that's when Karen says, no, you do it. Hearing her say that, I was confused, and I say, pardon? To which the Karen says, you go back and get me coffee. At this point, I'm confused, and I say, I'm not an employee here. To which she says, don't make excuses. Just go get coffee. Listen, when I buy products, that's how you get paid. Now here's a side note. In this store, employees wear black shoes, black pants, a green shirt, and a white apron. I tell her, I'm not an employee here. I'm only 15 years old. I'm just here getting stuff from my mom. She's probably looking for me right now. Karen says, no, you're gonna help me or I'm gonna get the manager. Now at this point I've had enough. Thinking it's not my problem, I put my headphones on and start walking away. When this woman decides to yank my headphones off my head, and I scream, what the heck, lady? How many times do I have to say this? I'm not an employee. I don't even have a name tag or a uniform on. And I've told you so many times, I don't work here. Are you blind, deaf, or both? The woman then proceeds to slap me, and she starts pulling me by my jacket sleeve, trying to drag me to the empty coffee aisle. I did get free and start screaming, berating her to the point that she did leave. Now I thought it was over and done with, but no. The same lady shows up again, dragging a manager with her. The Karen screaming, there, that's him. That's the employee that just attacked me. Fire him. The manager tells her, ma'am, what? He's not an employee, he's just a regular here. The Karen then proceeds to start shouting at the manager, and as a crowd started to form, my mom, who had been finding me, finally sees the commotion. My mom asked in confusion, what's happening and what happened to you? I then tell her everything that's happened. The woman, finally seeing that she's not getting anything out of the manager, decides to get even more aggressive. The woman marches over to me and grabs my shirt collar. By this point, I've truly had enough. I then pull her hand away and push her into a shelf. Of course, my mom pulls me away and Karen starts screaming, saying to get the police, get her lawyer, and the local judge to sentence me to jail for life. And with me fighting back, we had to stay to talk to police. So the police arrive and take a statement from me, the manager, Karen, my mom, and some bystanders as well. They do check the security footage showing that I was dragged against my own will, and that she did in fact put her hands on me first. My mom then shows an ID of mine proving that I'm 15 years old, and then the police arrest her. The woman's charged with child battery, property damage, and assault and resisting arrest as she kicked an officer in the leg. Now you'd think this would be the end, but there's more to the story. So we go to court, and after presenting the evidence, she was sentenced to pay a fine of 15,000 Philippine pesos. and she got a prison sentence of 5 years with a chance of parole. Oh my goodness, guys, imagine having your life completely ruined over frickin' coffee. This is exactly why you keep your hands to yourselves, guys. Like, attacking someone is bad enough, but to find out that you put your hands on someone who's still a minor and getting a jail sentence for that, oh man. And guys, I just finished watching a documentary of jails in the Philippines a few weeks back, and it's definitely not a pleasant place to be. What a mistake that Karen made. So here's an incident that happened before the pandemic. I used to work at a warehouse, and there wasn't a dress code there. The only mandatory thing we had to wear were jeans, and I usually wore a sweatshirt with it that said, literally, Dead Book Club. Classy, right? Now, my days were long and exhausting. My job was very physical, and I worked second shift, meaning that all the work for the day had to be done before we went home, or hell would freeze over. So when I left work, my deepest desire was to get home, eat a quick meal, and then go to bed. But of course, there were those days where I had no choice but to stop at the store to stock up. It's usually after 9:30 p.m. when I make it to the store. And as you can imagine, there are some very unique people in the store at that time. And because I seem to have that kind of face, people have the tendency to think that I'm an employee. So to combat this, I do two things. Number one, I grab a small cart rather than a big one to better maneuver around people. And number two, I walk really, really fast through the store to get it done faster. And I may look like a lunatic while doing it, but whatever. I've even started to wear big headphones as a deterrent so others can see that I'm busy. So on with the story. I grab a small cart as usual and I head for produce. I have my route memorized so well that I know where each item is and the quickest way to get there. Now I'm about halfway through my shopping when I feel a tap on my shoulder. I'm usually hyper aware if someone's close to me because I'm trying to avoid them, so naturally, the tap on my shoulder does make me jump. I look behind me to find this lady, a Karen, hunched over, and she's gasping for breath. To me, the woman looks like an average person. She has brown hair, she's wearing nice clothes, and she obviously doesn't do much cardio. But then she speaks and says, "I've been trying to get your attention. Why are you running away from me? Why are you walking so fast?" Now, naturally, I'm confused. I noticed that I had passed at least 3 employees since I started going down the aisles, so she could have asked any one of them for help. Instead, she chose to chase me down. I internally moan, the woman's not gonna let me go without talking to her. So I pull down my headphones and say, "What?" To which the Karen says, "Don't you talk to me like that, and don't walk so fast. What if you run into someone? That's an accident waiting to happen. And how in the world are people like me gonna get you to help them? People need to be able to get your attention. Now tell me where the lima beans are. Now, I can't find them." It's been a long time since I've been lectured on proper manners, but that doesn't sound like the right way to ask for help. So I just say, "I'm sorry, but I don't work here." To which the Karen says, "What? Of course you work here. You obviously know where everything is, so you need to help me. Where are the lima beans?" Hearing her say this, I stare at her. I'm way too tired to even smile. I tell her I don't work here, but if they haven't moved things around since last week, then the lima beans should be in aisle number 9 with the other beans. I then turn around to leave, but of course Karen grabs my cart to stop me saying, "Wait, you need to come help me look. What if it's not there and I have to come find you again?" I then groan again, and this seems to annoy her even more. I tell her, "Look, I said I don't work here. Plus, I'm in a bit of a hurry. If you need someone to help you, you should find an employee." The Karen then says, "Listen to me. Your job doesn't just consist of restocking shelves. If you're on the floor, then you have to help the customers. I'm the reason you get paid. And I don't understand how you could get this job if you're so bad at helping people." Now, I was way too tired to come up with the quirky comebacks, and I just wanted to finish my shopping and go home. I then look over her shoulder and pointed frantically saying, look, there's an employee right there." I then called for him to help and took that as my chance to make a break for it. I ran out of the aisle and went halfway down the store before turning into another empty aisle. I could tell the woman was coming after me and she sounded pissed. I could hear her cussing at me. The woman was yelling that I would lose my job and that I was trying to steal the stuff in my cart. It pretty much turned into a cat and mouse game through the store. As I was leaving one aisle, she would just enter it, and on it went. After a while, she was cussing up a storm. All I had to do was pay for my stuff and leave. And of course, the Karen finds me, and she's brought a manager with her saying, "There she is. There's the girl who won't help me. And she was acting suspicious the whole time. I think she's gonna steal those items in her cart." The manager seemed to be just as fed up with this woman as I was, and the look in his face, along with the idiocy of the situation, made me laugh. The man behind me was laughing as well. Karen looked at both of us before turning to the manager saying, "Well, what are you waiting for? Fire her. She's obviously not fit to work with people. She has no people skills at all, that moron." The manager then looks at me for a second and says, "I can't fire her, she doesn't work here." To which Karen says, "Don't lie. She's obviously smart enough to know where everything is. She works here." The manager blinks for a second and says, "So is she smart or is she a moron? She can't be both." Now I was laughing at what he said, and then I calmed myself down to the best of my ability and then said, "This lady was chasing me through the store because she wanted lima bean." I then quickly finished explaining my side of the story, and that's when the manager says, "Now that I believe. Ma'am, this woman has no obligation to cater to your whim. She doesn't work here. She's a customer who I'm sure would like to be able to do her shopping in peace. And since you are making such a disturbance, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave." Hearing the manager say that, she gets angry and says, "I didn't do anything wrong. Besides, look at her. She's gonna steal all that stuff. You need to call police on her." The manager says that won't be necessary. He then leads her to the door. I then later learned that when the manager escorted Karen out of the store, she tried to take a swing at him, so he ended up banning her from the store. All in all, it was a very interesting grocery trip. I went home, made ravioli and salad, and went to sleep peacefully. Luckily, I never saw that woman again. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our /IDontWorkHereLady. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's ridiculous stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss the crazy stories on this channel. And if you guys missed the last episode, I'll link it right here. It's an r/entitled people episode, where a Karen pretends to have a service dog, and the story just gets crazy from there. Guys, go check it out if you haven't, and myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.